Well, hi. I have so many updates. And my life has been flipped upside down, but not in the way that you think it has or the way that I thought it was going to. Totally unexpected. So we'll start in with the update on my son who came back home this weekend for like a day and then turned around and had to go back out for a week with his school for a camping trip. But in that day that he came back from visiting his dad, oh my gosh, I was so nervous. And yeah, so he's not going to go. He's decided. He's decided that he wants to finish high school here. And I cannot tell you the lightness and the relief that I felt when he told me that. You know, it's been a really interesting process because, part of me was like, oh my gosh, you got so upset for nothing. See, look, it all worked out. And then I was like, well, no, that's not right. I mean, feelings are feelings. You get to feel your feelings. So don't listen to that voice. And then the second one is that, we're not having the easiest journey, he and I, because he's a teenage boy and I am his mom. And, we don't connect on a lot of things. And I'm parenting him and he's not wanting to be parented in a lot of ways. So I don't know. It's just really interesting to feel into the amount of relief that I feel that he is choosing to stay, because it's making me realize that that's really what I want too. Sometimes it can be easy to forget when you're in the thick of life and school and homework and doing chores and all of that stuff. And so to be able to understand that I really, 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 my heart really wants him here. And I know that now. I got to experience that journey. I don't know. I think it's, in some weird ways, it's a gift. Of course it is. It's all here for me. It's all here for my support and learning and growth. And so this little ride that I went on has helped me to understand how much I value him and how much I love him and how much I do want him around, even though he is a pain in the ass sometimes, a lot of times. But I freaking love that kid. And I'm so glad he's staying. So yay. It's such a relief. So that's good. But something else really, really crazy happened. I mean, I got fired from my job. For the first time ever, I've been fired. And I say fired, that's being dramatic. You can decide whether you think I was fired or not fired. I'll tell you the story. I mean, really, it's like kind of incredible. So I'm going to have to take it back to the fact that a couple weeks ago, I decided to do a solo mushroom journey. It's my first time that I had decided to do it alone and not have a guide. And because I've done it multiple times with a guide and I know what I'm in for, and I was not concerned about it, and I have enough experience with it that I had this. In addition to that, one of my best friends created a 6-hour music set, carefully, thoughtfully constructed. So I knew that I was in good hands listening to his music. And then I ran into another friend of mine who is a facilitator, and I ran into him at Ecstatic Dance right before I was going to go on this journey. And I mentioned to him that I was doing this, and he's like, cool. He's like, well, what are you doing? And I'm like, oh, I just thought I would be doing this kind. And he goes, well, you might want to think about doing a blend of this and that. And so he gave me this sort of expert advice on, kind of the the blend that I wanted to use. There are multiple different kinds if you don't know this. So he's like, yeah, do 75% this and 25% that. And I was like, oh my God, amazing, perfect. And so I went on this journey. It was incredibly powerful, as they always are. But this time I came away with like 4 specific instructions. And if you've never done it, I know that sounds weird. If you have done it, you know what I'm talking about. But I had 4 specific instructions, and I was sort of laughing because I had just been talking about how I always follow my intuition. And yet here I was faced with these instructions, and I didn't want to follow one of them in particular, which was that I was told that I needed to stop wasting my energy on this job because I needed to use my energy to focus on the things that I need to focus on, that I'm being called to focus on. And I was so resistant to this because my boss was the best boss I had ever worked for. And the company was filled with these brilliant women. Oh, God, just amazing women. And I just was enjoying being a coworker and hanging out with them. And some of my customers were these really interesting people. And I was learning things that were, it was reminding me a little bit of my days when I was a reporter, where I got to sort of randomly learn about these worlds that I would not normally be invited to or even know about. And so there was a lot, and the paycheck, of course. I mean, God, a steady paycheck is amazing. It's the best. So all of those things were making me very resistant to stepping off a cliff and into the void, which is what it felt like I was doing again. And so right after the journey, my company announces that they're going to have a retreat. And so in a couple weeks. And so I'm like, okay, perfect. I am not going to do anything about this until I go to the retreat. And I'm going to, drop in with my boss and have a conversation then and figure it out. Yeah, well, that wasn't on my timeline. Turns out I was not on my timeline because 2 weeks later, I get on a call with my boss where we're supposed to be developing a show together for a new customer. And she says to me, I'm going to have to change what this meeting is about. And I'm like, okay. And she's like, and it's a hard conversation. And I'm like, okay. And she goes, I just feel like where you're headed and what you need to do and where you need to focus your time is very different than what I need for my company. And I just sat there for a minute and I was like, yeah, I agree. And I was just, first of all, stunned that I had basically had 2 weeks to execute on my instructions. Otherwise, I was going to get forced into it. So that was kind of amazing. But then I also just, I said to her that I was really grateful because she was bringing up something that I had not had the courage to talk to her about yet. And that I was really grateful that she had the wisdom and the courage to have this conversation with me. And, and she said, we love everything about you. We love all that you do. There's nothing that I can point to that would be any reason other than this. And, I just said, I know. And then the most incredible thing happened. And she said, because I know that you're spiritual and you will understand this, I want to go grab something. And so she goes and comes back with a journal. And she says, I was journaling about you and what I wanted to do and what I wanted to say. And I just wrote this sentence, and it says, and when I tell her, she will feel free. And I started crying, and I just said, I do feel free. And thank you for seeing me, and thank you for being so kind. And I just wanted to be a part of what it is that she's building, because I believe in her and the company, and I love them all so much. But it's not my path. And so it makes me sad, because, you want to be part of something like that, but it's not what I'm supposed to be doing. So I am out of a job, and I don't know what's next for me. And it's really interesting, because I'm just having to really lean into my faith and what I believe. And, it's being put to the test here. And I'm just trusting that the thing that I'm supposed to do next is going to show up for me. And it's not that I'm kicking back and waiting for something, but I'm just going to continue doing the things that I'm called to do and not stress out about it, not try to figure it out, and just follow my curiosity and see where it goes. So that happened. And I would be silly, really, if I were to tell you that I don't have moments where I'm like, what's happening? But I have many, many, many more moments where I just sort of feel this anticipation and excitement, and just when I feel like I don't know what I'm doing, one of you will reach out to me and tell me that I said something or did something that had an impact on you. And it's just those little nuggets, right? Like those crumbs are what I'm living for right now. So thank you again. I don't think we realize how much the little things that we think to say or do completely impact other people. If people pop into your head, or if you have kind thoughts about something that someone does, or if another human being does something that has an impact on your day or the way that you're feeling or your energy, say something, because you have no idea how important that casual comment could be to the person who's receiving it. I understand that, because it's been really amazing and really sustaining for me. So yes, please. And a reminder for me to do the same thing. I'm absolutely making that a part of my practice, that whenever I think about someone, especially if I think about something that they did or said that has been helpful to me, to just let them know what a light they are in my life, because you never know where they are and whether that was the one thing that they needed to hear in that moment, because it's been true for me. So, I've been thinking about what I'm going to do with this time that I have until this next thing shows up. And I guess I really need to lean into this idea of being a Renaissance woman. I mean, I might as well identify the things that I want to learn and start putting those into practice. I definitely want to take advantage of all of it. So I guess my goal would be in the next week to identify what some of those things are, and then take action, be in action on them. And in addition to that, I have this other story that I want to share. So I told you how I want to follow my curiosity in real life down the rabbit hole. And I have started this podcast on intentional community. And so I recorded this interview with a friend of a friend, but I haven't edited it yet because it's a lump of clay and I still haven't figured out what to do with it yet. And then I just started going to this community Shabbat dinner that's once a month. It started last month. And so this was my second month going. And it was one of those things where I kind of got sort of a random invite. And I was like, yeah, okay, let's check that out. And so I went to the first one and it was really lovely and some wonderful people. And so then I decided to go to the next one, which was this past week. And I go to the Shabbat and we have this lovely dinner. And then it's like probably about 20 people. And now we're all going to share kind of what's alive for us, where we are, what we're learning, what we're realizing or how we're feeling. And we start kind of one person goes and then they pick the next person to go. Yeah. And then the whole room goes before I do. And with each person who speaks, I'm realizing that what they're saying is exactly what I needed to hear. So like the first person in the circle shares something and I'm like, oh my God, that's why I came here tonight. Because what that person just shared is exactly what I needed to hear. And that's why I'm here. And then the next person would go and I would be like, oh my God, that person is exactly what I needed to hear. And it kept happening. I'm telling you, every single person who shared in that circle said something that directly related to the experience that I was having. And then one of the last people to share was this guy who had not been there the week before. And in fact, it was his first time coming. And he starts to share, and I'm not even kidding you right now, somehow his share turns into him telling us that he was born on this famous intentional community and he grew up on this famous intentional community and he's been moved away for many, many, many years and he's been thinking about it a lot lately and thinking about the ways that he wants to bring a lot of what he learned by growing up in intentional community into his life. And I'm just like, oh my God, what? And so I got his name and his contact information. And I'm like, well, obviously I have to talk to him for my intentional community podcast. Like, do you know of someone who grew up in an intentional community? And I just happened to be at a dinner where someone who shows up is sharing it's insane. It's insane, right? Like, how fun is that? And how crazy is that? I freaking love it. It's so fun. So I cannot wait to talk to him because I am like excited to add his wisdom and knowledge to the lump of clay. Maybe he's the glaze to go with that metaphor. I don't know, but it might be a minute before that podcast is ready because I've got some more work to do. I've got some more research to do before I am ready to put that together. But it was really delightful having that dinner and having all of those people sharing and feeling so connected to what their experiences were and what they were going through made me not feel so alone in what I'm going through and how I'm feeling. And anytime that you can feel like you're not alone in this world, it's really lovely. It feels really good. Oh, I know what I want to share. Oh my gosh. I'm going to share. Oh my gosh, I'm going to end on the most fun note ever. So my daughter goes to university in Scotland and she had this big ball that was coming up and she went to it and then she left me and my ex this the most amazing voicemail about what her experience of going to this ball in Scotland was like. And I am going to add it to the end of this podcast. And you will, it's the most heartwarming and innocent and fun thing you've ever heard. Or at least I have. It just made me feel so good. So I'm going to share that with you at the end of this. And then the other thing I'm going to say, gosh, I don't know. It's so weird. Money, energy exchange. Money is just an exchange of energy. And I am sharing my energy with you and, all of us content creators that put stuff out for free. I guess we all kind of hope that it's valuable enough that someone decides that they would like to share energy back with us. And I haven't done any of the things that I'm supposed to do in order to support myself as a creative. But I did just set up a Venmo, and it's at Magical Soup. And I may get myself organized and actually try to do all the things that sort of official content creators do. I don't know. It just feels kind of weird because this feels like this is actually for me. You're actually helping me. You've been really lovely in helping me just simply by letting me know you're listening and appreciating what I'm doing. And so who am I to ask for any more than that? Your attention is valuable enough, and the fact that you're willing to give me any of your time. So to ask you to contribute anything financial on top of that just seems really bizarre. But I don't know. There it is. Blah. Okay, so now I proudly present a voicemail from my daughter, who is living out her Scottish princess fantasy.
The gala night was hands down, far and away, one of the greatest nights of my life. Like, I think I'm gonna keep it in my memory forever. It was insane. It was insane. I have to send you some videos of what a true Kaylee is. It's spelled Ceilidh, I think. But I'll send you some videos of what the dances we did. It was like folk almost square dancing, but if you remember that one scene in Tangled where they're all like spinning and dancing in pretty dresses and very princessy. And okay, so my partner was Ben, and I'll send you some pictures if you haven't seen them already. He was the one in the bow tie, and he and I killed it. Not once in the 4 hours did he step on my feet at all, which I thought he was going to be a little bit clumsy, a little bit awkward, but we had that on lock. We were dancing and dancing and dancing, and my legs are so tired now, but it was too fun to even like stop and take a video. I didn't want to stop the entire time. We danced for like 4 hours, and I every time that I'm possibly invited to another Kaylee in the foreseeable future, I will be going. I think that it's an experience that everyone should have in their life. Like, it was insane. It was so fun. It was so fun.